business. 2010, President Obama appointed him to the National Advisory Council on Innovation and Entrepreneurship. 2010, he was bestowed a 33 Masonic degree. In 2011, he was named the Entrepreneur of the Year Award by FraserNet. 2011, he was bestowed the 68 Kappa Alpha Psi Laureate. In 2012, he received a Lifetime Achievement Award from Morehouse College. Yes, yes. He is also the recipient of Honorary Doctor of Laws degrees from Lindenwood University, Morris Brown College, and an Honorary Doctor of Humane Letters from Tougaloo College. Dr. Rollins has been selected as a participant in some of our country's most prestigious programs: Citizen Ambassador Program and Security Delegation to China in 1996, Civilian Attendee of Army War College in 2001. He was the Joint Civilian Orientation Conference Southern Command in 2008, and he was part of the Fraser mission to Ghana from 2014, and also Egypt in 2017. He has served on the publicly held boards of directors of the Home Shopping Network, Alamosa PCS, and Acme Broadcasting Company. Additionally, he has served on the boards of trustees of the International Council of Shopping Centers, the National Association of Black Hotel Owners, which he was chairman for 10 years, the National Association of Black Broadcasters, and scores of others. His philosophy of life and business is succinctly expressed in his book, Action Has No Season, Strategies and Secrets to Gaining Wealth and Authority, where he states, you are the architect of your life. You are the inventor of your destiny. Just as Michelangelo could take a piece of stone, chip away the non-essential pieces and produce David, you too can chip away the status quo, traditions attempting to restrict you from achieving and manifest your vision into your destiny through action. Dr. Roberts is a highly sought-after keynote speaker and lecturer and has spoken at numerous universities, churches, community organizations, and business conferences. Both in his book and his speaking engagement focus on a central theme. I want people to become actionaires. Right. Now, let me draw your attention to the video
they
screen.
made billions and broke barriers. Today in our special series, Black in America, Ed Lamandera introduces us to two brothers who have built an empire literally from the ground up, and they never forgot where they came from.
You know you've arrived in the business world when your office can look like this.
This is all my stuff.
Michael and Stephen Roberts launched their business empire from a historically black neighborhood in North St. Louis. They estimate their company, which holds everything from hotels to TV stations, to be worth almost $1 billion.
So someone watching this who said, that's really easy for these guys to say. They've got millions and millions of dollars. They can go out and buy whatever they want. I have 2 quarters to rub together. What do you tell that person?
Then we also had 2 quarters to rub together.
We weren't rich, we weren't poor, but we just never had any money either.
We tell folks, learn it, get your hands dirty, low sweat equity, and then you will know it. It becomes yours.
The Roberts brothers say the key to success is putting ideas into action. They are relentless workers, always looking to make a deal.
We're creatures, we're animals of the earth. What other animal retires? If a lion retired, today, tomorrow morning becomes breakfast, right?
Mike was late first.
They were both elected to the St. Louis Board of Aldermen. Out of a 1-room office, they created an empire made up of 76 companies with 1,100 employees. They run TV stations, hotels, they own commercial real estate and telecommunications companies. Their name adorns every property: the Roberts Village, the Roberts Loft, the Roberts Mayfair Hotel. But don't try comparing them to Donald Trump.
And what may appear to you today as ego, 40 years from now will be legacy. And black folks need legacy. We have to have examples of successes in order for us to be able to let the generations to come know that many of the successes that occurred by African Americans in this country can be seen and pointed out and can be emulated.
The Orpheum Theater in downtown St. Louis symbolizes the Roberts' quest for legacy. Decades ago, their mother and other black people were only allowed to sit in the highest balcony. Now the Roberts brothers own the theater.
Wherever she likes.
That is priceless.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Ed Lavendera, CNN, St. Louis, Missouri.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr.
Was then traded between plantation owners, indicating that they owned this particular slave. Did you know that that's the origin of trading bonds, which created something called the stock market? Making sure that we have good resources, capital resources in inner cities, so that we can have some of the brilliant young people that we have, giving them the financial needs that they will need in order to meet their passion and their vision. Well, one of the things we discussed was, and what people don't sometimes understand is, the concept of innovation, or the concept of starting a business, doesn't mean that you need to invent something. You need to be innovative. Let me give you 2 or 3 examples. Henry Ford did not invent the automobile. It was invented in Europe before Henry. But he met with a gentleman who had a steel company, and together they came together and they created an assembly line which produced a number of cars on a more rapid and a lower cost rate, and as a result, the cars came along. He was an innovative on top of the automobile. Another example would be Fred Smith was a college student at Yale, and he wrote a business plan. And after he finished his business plan, he only got a C on it, by the way. It was about taking things in a cardboard box and moving it from point A to point B. Well, that's something what the U.S. mail does. That's nothing new, except the way in which he did it, and the sizing of the boxes, and the speed in which he could deliver one box to the next, allowed him to create a company called Federal Express. Innovation. And my third example, IBM created the computers, not Bill Gates. But Bill Gates was innovative, and he created an operating program that ultimately allowed us, similar to what Michael Dell did, to create this thing called an operating system, which ultimately allowed us to get our laptops. But IBM slept the innovative side of moving into that point. But Bill Gates and Michael Dell slept the concept of the internet as it relates to the creation of the AOLs and the Googles and the connectivity. That was innovation. And then they slept the social networking that Zuckerberg and Facebook and others now are into, and who knows what's next. Innovation. So brothers and sisters, when you think about your ideas and you're coming up, and I hope many of you are the futurists that we need to allow us to be able to get behind you and your business and your ideas, look out ahead. When I built my wireless phone company, I had owned several TV stations, and all of them had to move from an analog signal to to a digital signal. And I was watching that the phones were very similar in that, you remember when the coolest person in the show had a big suitcase, a briefcase, and with a phone? and it was that snap, crackle, drop type phone, you can walk around the corner and lose the phone. Well, when it was going to digital, I recognized ahead of time that I needed to be in that business. So I then pursued the licenses, and ultimately, in a competitive environment, and that's a whole story, and it's in my book, but it's a long story about how I ultimately ended up with licensing. And then I decided I'd better get a brand to connect with, so I spoke to Sprint. who was right in the Missouri, Kansas, near my home in St. Louis, and I visited with them. I took about 8 of my engineers and my team. We jumped on my Gulfstream private jet and flew over to, what? Like I said yesterday, Muhammad Ali was a friend of mine, said it ain't bragging if you can back it up. We flew to Kansas City, and they told us that even though we had licenses for half of Missouri, that they were not going to, and we outnumbered them, there were 2 or 3, about 10 of us. They said that the policy that Sprint's forward to allow for franchising of these PCS phones, at the time, remember, still analog, and most people didn't know about this digital phone idea. He said, look, we only are planning to affiliate with rural landline telephone companies. Okay? Now, I had built several TV stations, tower, antenna, waveguide. Basically, that's all, that's the microcosm of the macrocosm of, that's the macrocosm of the microcosm of what you have to build when you build these towers. You see them up down the highway. They're not as big as a big broadcast tower. But we built so many of them, and we said, well, we can do this. Of course we can do this. Have we done it? No, but we can do it. Long story short, we jumped on our plane, and I told them straight up, I said, look, what's important in this digital phone business is first to market. And if I get the customers, and I am going to build this, then you're going to have a hard time getting my customers from you. A month later, they called and said, can we come and see you? Go up to New York and talk to the bankers. They didn't know what a digital phone was. I'd ask them for $100 million. They laughed so hard I'd have to pick them up out of their chair. It was a challenge, to say the least. But then I realized, once I talked to my other colleagues, what they were doing, because I don't know how they were getting money. And then they told me there was something called vendor financing. I said, vendor financing? You mean the Nortels and the Lucents are backing you guys with the equipment that they're selling you? That's right. And I ended up with 100% financing from one of them and got $54 million, and I was off and running to build a wireless phone company.
Wow.
And here's another side of the story. After we were up, and we joined with some other affiliates to go public, and we were going public because it looked like Sprint was about to get bought, and by WorldCom. You remember them? They're all in jail now. But we were concerned that if WorldCom got it, they would roll this up, and it was better for us to be the larger of all of the affiliates. There were about 12. So 3 of us came together and went public. That was great because it took out all of my debt, and it gave me about $300 million in stock and money. That was a great time. But that was right before the big recession started to hit. But let me go back and tell the little cute story behind all of it. So Forbes comes and does a story. I know a lot of us haven't been in Forbes, but they did a big feature. They had my brother and I, that corporate stand, like that, shoulder to shoulder. But here's the cute side of it. I'm having an interview with the reporter, and the reporter says, well, how did you pull this off? I said, well, no, you just got to fake it till you make it. And when the article came out, there was a big spread in Forbes. Guess what the title was?
Yeah, you gotta fake it till you make it.
So my white colleagues, they asked the question, brother, Mr. Robinson, exactly what is this fake it till you make it? It was like I said, let me tell you something. I said, Y'all have things called voodoo economics. And y'all have things called dress for success. In my neighborhood, we just call it fake it till you make it. You know, when I talk about wealth and sustainability, you know, I also talk about having authority. And one of the things we have to recognize is what is authority. A simple example would be this. It's a definition that has to range between having power and having authority. When George Bush went to India and Pakistan with Condoleezza Rice, he went there to tell them, hey, y'all need to calm down, because if you start this war over an inch of land or a mile of land on the borders, it could erupt into a major regional war. Well, the heads of both of those countries looked at the most powerful man on the face of the earth, President of the United States, and they basically thumbed his nose and said, this is our country, we'll do what we want. But if Michael Dell had gone over and said, listen, I've got millions of dollars of plants in both of your countries, and if you dare start a war, I will pull my plants out of your country and affect the growth of your middle class. He had authority, Bush had power. Which one would you rather have?
Authority.
See, the capitalists are very strong players in this world. And we have to continue to embrace that concept. And true enough, you know, it is the pathway to freedom. We can do a lot more for our people with money than without money.
Yes.
Mr. Brooks asked, well, what motivates you, Brother Roberts? And I just simply said, the whole concept of what motivates me is the ability to take someone, after building a hotel, renovating a hotel, and acquiring a hotel in a city like Detroit. I bought it in December of 2010. And even the people in Detroit told me to stay away from Detroit. There was a jail, with all these problems, up and down. I said, you know what? If you take on a city that has more African Americans than any other city in America, and if you build the right product, and you do it correctly and first class, I believe our people will support it. But we opened it up, and now this is our 7th year. If you're in Detroit all summer with another black business, Prestige Auto, we provide free jazz. And by the way, to describe it, well, you can look it up. It's Detroit Riverwalk Hotel or Roberts Riverwalk Hotel. Google it. You'll see we sit right on the Detroit River. You walk out my front door, you look out the window, you see the water, and you see Canada. It's probably the choice property in the whole city. But one of the things that I recognize is when I had employees, to get to my point with the bishop, when I see employees who used to walk to work or bicycle to work, and then suddenly those employees are now driving a car, and their families are being fed properly, and the kids are going to school well dressed. When you can do that, and I've had over 11,000 employees in my life, and 99% of them are black. But when you can do that, I spoke to a group but a few years ago in Atlanta, at one of my hotels in Atlanta at the time, and I lined up all my employees at the door. Now this group is black power group, okay? You know, CAMs, programs, Black Power. And we had all types of representatives of activists. But when I came to the podium, I gave them a signal, and all my staff came down, they walked around, stood for a moment and walked out. And the entire audience stood and applauded. Can you imagine how my employees felt? But as they left, I looked at the audience and I said just a couple of simple words. That's Black power. In New York, I talked to the bankers, they didn't know what a digital phone was. I'd ask them for $100 million, they'd laugh so hard I'd have to pick them up out of their chair. It was a challenge, to say the least. But then I realized, once I talked to my other colleagues, what they were doing, because I don't know how they were getting money. And then they told me there was something called vendor financing. I said, vendor financing? You mean the Nortels and the Lucents are backing you guys with the equipment that they're selling you? That's right. And I ended up with 100% financing from one of them and got $54 million, and I was off and running to build a wireless phone company.
Wow.
And here's another side of the story. After we were up and we joined with some other affiliates to go public, and we were going public because it looked like Sprint was about to get bought, and by WorldCom, you remember them? They're all in jail now, but but we were concerned that if WorldCom got it, they would roll this up, and it was better for us to be the larger of all of the affiliates. There were about 12. So 3 of us came together and went public. That was great because it took out all of my debt, and it gave me about $300 million in stock and money. That was a great time. But that was right before the big recession started to hit. But let me go back and tell the little cute story behind all of it. So Forbes comes and does a story. I know a lot of us haven't been in Forbes, but they did a big feature. They had my brother and I, that corporate stand, like that, shoulder to shoulder. But here's the cute side of it. I'm having an interview with the reporter, and the reporter says, well, how did you pull this off? I said, well, you just got to fake it till you make it. And when the article came out, there was a big spread in Forbes. Guess what the title was?
Yeah, you gotta fake it till you make it.
So my white colleagues, they asked the question, Brother Mr. Robinson, exactly what is this fake it till you make it? It was like I said, let me tell you something. I said, y'all have things called voodoo economics. And y'all have things called dress for success. In my neighborhood, we just call it fake it till you make it. When I talk about wealth and sustainability, I also talk about having authority. And one of the things we have to recognize is what is authority. A simple example would be this. It's a definition that has to range between having power and having authority. When George Bush went to India and Pakistan with Condoleezza Rice, he went there to tell them, hey, y'all need to calm down, because if you start this war over an inch of land or a mile of land on the borders, it could erupt into a major regional war. Well, the heads of both of those countries looked at the most powerful man on the face of the earth, President of the United States, and they basically thumbed his nose and said, this is our country, we'll do what we want. But if Michael Dell had gone over and said, listen, I've got millions of dollars of plants in both of your countries, and if you dare start a war, I will pull my plants out of your country and affect the growth of your middle class. He had authority, Bush had power. Which one would you rather have?
Authority.
See, the capitalists are very strong players in this world. And we have to continue to embrace that concept. And true enough, you know, it is the pathway to freedom. We can do a lot more for our people with money than without money. Mr. Brooks asked, well, what motivates you, Brother Roberts? And I just simply said, the whole concept of what motivates me is the ability to take someone after building a hotel, renovating a hotel, and acquiring a hotel in a city like Detroit. I bought it in December of 2010. And even the people in Detroit told me to stay away from Detroit. There was jail, there was all these problems up and down. I said, you know what? If you take on a city that has more African Americans than any other city in America, and if you build the right product, and you do it correctly and first class, I believe our people will support it. But we opened it up, and now this is our 7th year. If you're in Detroit all summer with another black business, Prestige Auto, we provide free jazz. And by the way, to describe it, well, you can look it up. It's Detroit Riverwalk Hotel and Roberts Riverwalk Hotel. Google it. You'll see we sit right on the Detroit River. You walk out my front door, you look out the window, you see the water, you see Canada. It's probably the choice property in the whole city. But one of the things that I recognize is when I had employees, to get to my point with the bishop, when I see employees who used to walk to work or bicycle to work, and then suddenly those employees are now driving a car, and their families are being fed properly, and the kids are going to school well dressed. When you can do that, and I've had over 11,000 employees in my life, and 99% of them are black. But when you can do that, I spoke to a group but a few years ago in Atlanta, at one of my hotels in Atlanta at the time, and I lined up all my employees at the door. Now this group is black power group, okay? You know, CAMs, programs, Black Power. And we had all types of representatives of activists. But when I came to the podium, I gave them a signal, and all my staff came down, they walked around, stood for a moment and walked out. And the entire audience stood and applauded. Can you imagine how my employees felt? But as they left, I looked at the audience and I said just a couple of simple words. That's Black Power. Shutting up and sitting down. But let me just say, I'll tell you this quick story. My daughter who just had a baby, her second one, now it's been about 2 months ago. She's married to a playwright and producer director by the name of Jacarius Johnson. Some of you may know him. He's right there with Tyler Perry. He's done several plays all over the country, and he'll do quite a few more. Kids are really amazing, because I remember, you know, sometimes we do have to discipline our children, and sometimes it's hard to do it. But I remember one evening with Megan, my form of discipline was to send her upstairs and put her to bed. And as she was going upstairs and entered her room, I said, now get on your knees and pray tonight. So she's just there. So I said, Megan, I can't hear you. She looked at me and said, I'm not talking to you. All right, let me just close with what we said yesterday, and that is, you know, there's this thing called the Good Old Boy Network, right? Oh yeah, Good Old Boy. And notice there's no girls in the Good Old Boy Network, is there? But Brother Dudley, with all that you've done, and all that Brother Fuller did, and all that those entrepreneurs and those capitalists in this room is full of. All I can say to the Overboard Network is get ready, get set, go, and get out of our way. But here comes the homeboy and homegirl network of entrepreneurs and business people. Thank you very much.
Yeah!